I don't remember deciding to tell anyone about this. It just started happening, usually late, when conversation thins out and the room gets quieter than it should. That's when the memory slips in. Not violently, not suddenly. It arrives the way cold does, slowly enough that you don't notice until you're already uncomfortable. This happened in western Pennsylvania, late October, the kind of time of year where the trees are half dead and the air smells faintly metallic, like rust and wet leaves. Back then, I was doing contract work that kept me driving between small towns most people pass through without ever stopping. Places that shut down early, places where night feels longer. Night driving had become routine, familiar, almost comforting. Therefore, when I left Altoona just before 10 p.m., I wasn't tense. I wasn't watching shadows. I wasn't expecting anything. I remember standing outside my car for a moment before leaving. The parking lights buzzed faintly. Somewhere far off, a truck engine idled. Other than that, nothing. No wind, no insects, just a stillness that felt pressed flat, like the world had already gone to sleep. I checked my phone. 3 hours home. Manageable. I told myself I wouldn't stop, just drive straight through and be done with it. The first hour blurred together the way night driving always does. Highways unspooling under the headlights, reflective signs flashing past and vanishing. The radio murmuring softly, therefore the silence never quite settled in. Somewhere after 11 p.m., the GPS spoke up. Faster route available. I didn't hesitate. I tapped accept and followed the exit ramp down off the highway. That's when things began to narrow. Not sharply, gradually. The road lost its divider. The shoulder thinned until it was barely there. Trees leaned closer, their branches tangled together overhead. Therefore, the headlights felt weaker, like they were being absorbed instead of reflected. I remember thinking how dark the woods looked. Not dramatic dark, not horror movie dark, just dense, layered, the kind of darkness that feels old. 10 minutes later, my phone lost service. I noticed, but therefore I didn't care. That happened all the time out there. Still, I checked the time. 11:14 p.m. The radio crackled. At first, it was subtle, just a thread of static under the voice. I adjusted the dial. The static grew louder. The voice dissolved. I changed stations. Every channel sounded wrong. Not dead, not quiet, just busy, like something was moving underneath the noise. I turned the radio off. The silence that followed felt immediate and heavy, like the inside of a sealed room. A few minutes later, my headlights caught something reflective on the shoulder. A bus stop sign. It stood alone, a single metal pole, a blank rectangle. No bench, no shelter, no sidewalk leading to it, just trees packed tightly behind it, their trunks pale and vertical, like they'd been placed there intentionally. I slowed down without realizing it. No one was there. Still, it bothered me more than it should have. A bus stop suggests waiting. It suggests routine. Someone standing there, checking the time, shifting their weight. But there was nothing around it that supported that idea. No houses, no roads branching off, no indication anyone had ever approached it on foot. I told myself it was abandoned, but therefore I kept thinking about it. 5 minutes later, I passed another one. Same height, Same blank sign, same distance from the road. My chest tightened. I started noticing other things after that. How I hadn't seen another car in a long time. How the forest never broke, never opened into clearings or driveways. How the road felt less like it was going somewhere and more like it was keeping me inside it. I checked the GPS again. The blue line still stretched forward, confident, unbothered. No warning, no recalculation. I glanced at the clock. 11:17 p.m. That didn't feel right. I watched it for a moment. The seconds moved, but slowly, heavily, like they were being dragged. That's when I saw the man. He stood on the shoulder, several feet back from the road, facing the trees. Dark hoodie, jeans, no visible bag, no jacket. He wasn't walking, he wasn't pacing, he wasn't even swaying. He was just there. I eased off the gas. My headlights washed over his back, therefore I glanced sideways as I passed him, expecting something, anything that would confirm he was real. He didn't turn, didn't react, didn't acknowledge the car at all. The moment he slipped out of view, a wave of dread rolled through me so sudden it made my hands go cold. I checked the rearview mirror. The shoulder was empty. No movement, no figure stepping into the woods. Gone. I told myself he'd stepped back, that the angle was wrong, that exhaustion was messing with my depth perception. But therefore my breathing didn't slow. Another bus stop passed, then another. They were closer together now, too evenly spaced, identical, like they weren't meant for people, but for counting something. The GPS went silent. No voice, no alerts. The road straightened, completely. No curves, no bends. Just a long, unnatural stretch cutting forward through terrain that should have forced it to twist. My speed dropped without me noticing. 35, 30. It felt like driving into a tunnel made of trees. Headlights appeared behind me. Relief hit hard and fast. Another car meant proof that this was real, that this road existed. The headlights stayed back, matching my speed. They didn't pass, didn't fall behind. They just followed. After a while, I noticed something wrong with them. They didn't move. No bounce, no sway, no subtle shift as the road dipped slightly. Just two steady points of light, fixed in place, like they were painted onto the darkness. I slowed down. They slowed too. I drifted toward the shoulder. They stayed perfectly centered. That's when the radio turned on. Static filled the car, but beneath it a voice, low, calm, intimate, like someone speaking softly from very close by. I couldn't understand the words. I didn't want to. My hand hovered over the power button, therefore I didn't touch it. The headlights behind me vanished instantly. At the same moment, the radio clicked off. I didn't think. I turned the wheel and made a careful U-turn, half expecting the road to resist me somehow. It didn't. I drove back the way I came. The bus stops were gone, all of them. The road curved again. Trees pulled back. An intersection appeared where there hadn't been one before. My phone buzzed as service returned. The GPS chirped cheerfully, recalculating like nothing had happened. I didn't stop driving until I reached a gas station just after midnight, every light blazing like it was trying to push the dark away. I sat there for a long time, engine running, staring at my reflection. The clerk asked if I was okay. I said I took a wrong turn. He nodded slowly and said, "Yeah, people do." I've checked maps since, old transit routes, archived bus lines. There are no bus stops out there, no road like that. But sometimes, late at night, I think about that man standing on the shoulder, how still he was, how he didn't turn his head, and I wonder if he was waiting, not for a ride, but for something that still comes. Some families pass down recipes. Some pass down heirlooms. Mine pass down stories. My grandfather spent 27 years as a detective in Hawthorne, Illinois, a quiet manufacturing town that pretended nothing bad ever happened. When I was a kid, his stories were watered down, crooks caught, mysteries solved, the good guys always winning. But as I got older, the tone changed. He stopped smiling when he talked, stopped joking, started pausing mid-sentence like he'd accidentally stepped too close to something he didn't want to remember. 2 years ago, when the doctors told him his body was giving up piece by piece, he told me there were cases he'd kept filed away deep, ones that never made sense, ones that didn't fit into how the world is supposed to work. He called them the impossible ones. The last one he told me, he said, that was the worst, not because it was the most violent, but therefore because it never stopped happening. It was early spring, late March, still cold enough that the mornings bit at your skin. A neighbor on Cedar Lane stepped out around 6 a.m. to grab her newspaper and noticed the Niebels' front door standing wide open. That alone was strange. The Niebels were neat people, careful, quiet, the kind of family you forget lives next door. She walked up, called out, and that's when she saw Jennifer Niebel lying on the kitchen floor. No blood, no mess, no sign of panic. She looked like someone who just shut down. When my grandfather and Olson arrived, the house felt wrong immediately. Not chaotic, too calm, furniture untouched, coffee cups still on the counter, Katie's little shoes lined up by the door. Jennifer was on her back, partly under the table, hair still perfect, no bruises, no wounds. Autopsy later said she was healthy in every measurable way. Her body didn't fail. Life simply left it. Benjamin and their 6-year-old daughter Katie were missing. Naturally, everyone thought Benjamin did it. But therefore, both cars were still in the garage. No neighbors saw them leave. No one heard shouting. 2 people had been on their porches since before sunrise and swore nothing passed by. The house was searched inch by inch, basement, closets, crawl spaces, attic. Nothing. Benjamin's job complicated everything. He worked as a supervisor at a lumber yard off Route 41, and co-workers confirmed he showed up just before 5 a.m. He was building something strange in his office, a narrow wooden crate, tall and thin, like a rifle case. When asked, he smiled and said it was for the house. He never finished it. At 6:15, he told another supervisor he was heading to the bathroom. He never came back. Hours later, My grandfather realized he'd left his notebook at the Nabel house. When they returned, the coroner was loading Jennifer's body into the van. That's when the smell hit them. Not a fresh death, not even a day-old one. It was the smell of rot, deep, soaked in, ancient, the kind that sticks to walls, the kind you don't forget. And it had just started. Everyone there swore the smell wasn't present minutes earlier. It led upward, to the attic, the same attic my grandfather had personally checked 5 times already. But there, for now, there was something new. A crate, standing upright, leaking blood. When they pried it open, Benjamin fell out, or what was left of him. He'd been crushed, folded into dimensions that shouldn't have been possible. Bones shattered, organs flattened, skin stretched and discolored like a body dead for 2 weeks, and his eyes were gone. That's when they heard Katie, a little girl's voice. "Help me!" Every single person heard it, but everyone heard it coming from somewhere else. The walls, the cabinets, the refrigerator, beneath cars outside, inside trees, from above the attic rafters. My grandfather heard it directly above his head. It lasted less than 2 minutes, and then it stopped. Weeks passed. Jennifer was buried. Benjamin was cremated. But therefore, Benjamin's urn vanished from the cemetery. 6 months later, a groundskeeper found Jennifer's grave disturbed. Her body had been dug up and posed upright like she was resting. In her hands was Benjamin's urn, wrapped in his skin, perfectly preserved. Inside the ashes were 3 eyeballs. Only one belonged to Benjamin. Years later, the voice never stopped. Sometimes my grandfather heard it from the bathroom, sometimes from downstairs, sometimes coming from his wife while she slept. And on May 12, 2007, he saw Katie Nebel, standing outside a Walgreens near their old house, still 6 years old, still crying, still asking for help. She vanished mid-step. An hour later, Olson called him after 5 years of silence. He'd seen Katie too, on a bus stop bench on the opposite side of the country. Olson killed himself the next day. My grandfather stopped talking after that. Said once he told it, it was done. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear something too. Not words, just breathing, like someone very small, standing just out of sight,